The dust has settled on that afternoon at Wembley Stadium, but the pain is likely to last all summer long. Of course, Middlesbrough fell to a 1-0 defeat against Hull City at the home of English football, meaning that it's another season in the Championship for Kim Hellberg's side. A really disappointing afternoon. Now, I'm recording this on Monday afternoon. It means there's been a good 2 days since the match. I wanted to kind of avoid getting swept up in the hysteria, the sort of the really emotional outpouring that there was, particularly on Saturday evening and on Sunday on social media. I wanted to make sure that this sort of video was a little bit calmer, a little bit more informed. Of course, it's been a really sunny, lovely weekend as well. Making the journey back up north. May have caught the sun a little bit. I'm still absolutely sweating recording this video because it's still absolutely sweltering outside. But I wanted to jump on just to talk about the match at Wembley Stadium. We've got a big summer planned, planning a lot of content around Middlesbrough heading into the new season, a bit of a more rational look at Middlesbrough squad, what we need to do to kick on next season. But of course, we couldn't go into the summer without dissecting what happened at Wembley Stadium. Now, of course, everyone, I imagine, a lot of people who are viewing this video were either there, they watched it on TV, whatever it might have been, and Middlesbrough fell to a 1-0 defeat, a really gut-wrenching way to lose the game, with Ollie McBurney scoring very, very late on with just a few minutes left in injury time, and it meant that Middlesbrough had very little time to get back into the game, find a way back in, and ultimately it was Hull City who secured promotion to the Premier League. Now, some of the neutrals might have said that this was a victory for football. Of course, we went into this game on the back of Spygate, Middlesbrough being reinstated to the final at the expense of Southampton. Hull City deserved their place in the final, having beaten Millwall, so some people were saying that this was probably the right result. For Middlesbrough, it didn't really work like that, and I think for us it was really a really disappointing afternoon, one where we didn't really show up, and one where it was a really big missed opportunity as far as we're concerned, because ultimately we were 90 minutes away from the Premier League on Saturday. We couldn't quite get over the line. Now, Middlesbrough dominated for large spells of the game. We had a lot of possession, as we always tend to do. A lot of the ball. We had a lot of the ball. We had created more chances than Southampton, but as was usually the case, or what has been the case over the last couple of months, we just really struggled to create those big chances that really put Hull City in an awkward position. Now, Middlesbrough had 68% possession, to Hull City's 32. We had 13 shots, they had 9. We had 25 shots in Hull City's box to their 11, but ultimately it was Hull who made their pressure count. They had the bigger moments, you've got to say. We might have had more of them, but they, of course, hit the crossbar in the first half through Ollie McBurney just before the break. And then at the very end of the game, it was Ollie McBurney who latched on to that cross from the left flank, converting it into Sol Brynn's net and wheeling off in celebration, knowing that he just earned Hull City around about £200 million with that one goal. It is the richest game in football, and it is Hull City who will be counting every single penny of that moving forward as they prepare for life in the top flight next season. And for Middlesbrough, a lot of work to do as we prepare for next season. Now, I'm not going to go through the game blow by blow. Everyone's seen the highlights. People probably just want to forget about the match. They don't want to go through exactly what went wrong on the game, so I'm not going to get too bogged down in that, because ultimately it was one match. It was a game where anything could have happened. It was always going to be decided by fine margins, and ultimately it was Hull City that ended up on top. I am going to focus on a couple of little big talking points, you could say, from this match. Things that we'll be talking about going into the summer and what we maybe need to think about going in to next season. Now, the first one, talking about social media, what the reaction was on Twitter in particular after the game. A lot of talk about Sol Brynn. Now, of course, he was responsible, really, for the goal that Hull City scored. The cross came in from the left flank. Sol Brynn dived out. He was clearly trying to punch it to safety, but he didn't quite get a firm fist on it, and ultimately it ended up landing at the feet of Ollie McBurney. Now, Sol Brynn was absolutely distraught after the game. He was in tears. He was being consoled by Adi Vivesh. He was being consoled by Aidan Morris, Callum Britton. All of the players were coming up to him and consoling him because of that big moment. Of course, it was the moment which ultimately decided the game. It allowed Hull City to win the match, and there's a lot of talk about Sol Brynn and what it means for him. Now, I have my own opinions. People have seen them on social media. I do think that Sol Brynn and the goalkeeping department in general is one that Middlesbrough can improve on going into next season. I think Sol Brynn's a good goalkeeper, don't get me wrong. He is good. He's still very, very young in goalkeeping terms as well. And of course, he has come through the academy. And so there is a degree of patience that you maybe need. Of course, you've got to remember as well, this is his first season at Championship level, his first full season at this level. So he'll have learned an awful lot this season. But I do think if Middlesbrough are being really, really ruthless, if we are trying to make that next step next season, trying to make sure that we don't end up in the playoffs and we want to go up automatically, I do think the goalkeeping department, is maybe one of those areas that we should be looking to improve on. There's a lot of quality goalkeepers out there. We saw it even not that long ago with Mark Travers when he came to the club, and just how big a step up he was on the goalkeepers that we had at the squad. So I think it's something where I will get onto this in just a little bit, because I think there's a couple of very, very key areas that Middlesbrough need to improve on this summer. But I do think that if there is an opportunity to strengthen that goalkeeping department, whether it's bringing someone in as a first choice, or even if it's just someone coming in to challenge Sol Brynn to really make it an intense competition for that number 1 jersey, I think that would be the best thing to do, because Sol Brynn's had very little competition for that shirt this season. Senny Dieng has pretty much fallen off the face of the earth. We brought in Joel Wildsmith. We've had number 3 goalkeepers and that sort of thing. But Sol Brynn really hasn't had much scrutiny, hasn't had much pressure for his shirt this season. And I do think that next season that is something that's going to have to change. It's a very upgradable department, in my opinion. I do think bringing in a senior goalkeeper, a first-team ready goalkeeper, will be really, really important. And whether that's to replace Sol Brynn or just challenge him, I do think it's really important that we do that if we are looking to be ruthless and we are looking to kick on. But I don't want to hammer him too much, because ultimately that was an absolutely awful moment for him. You could tell just how devastated he was. It's going to take a long, long time for Sol Brynn to get over that. And ultimately, it's the whole thing that goalkeepers, it's the most scrutinised position on the pitch, isn't it? You make a mistake in midfield, you make a mistake in defence, even in attack, and we will get onto that very, very shortly. It's forgiven a lot quicker than what a goalkeeper is. But if a goalkeeper makes a mistake, typically the ball is ending up in the back of the net. So yes, it was a pretty bad mistake. It was one which did cost us. It did allow Ollie McBurney to get that goal. But I don't want to batter him too much. That's not what I'm about. It's not what the channel's about. I don't want to do that too much on this channel. But I do think it will give Kim Hellberg food for thought, not just based on this game, but based on over the context of this season and Sol Brynn's performances, that maybe he does just need a little bit of competition, a little bit more support going into it next season to see what we can do to improve that department. Now, the second factor that I wanted to talk about was, of course, Hayden Hackney. Now, he was a player who hadn't played at all in the last couple of months, and he was past fit to be involved against Hull City at Wembley. Now, he came on midway through the second half. It was a really rapturous reception that he got from the Middlesbrough supporters. He came on in the second half when Middlesbrough were looking to really kind of turn the screw. We'd had a lot of the ball, weren't really creating a lot of chances, and so it was his chance to come on and change the game. And from my point of view, I was really, really impressed with him. Now, I want to say this first of all, I could tell he was not fit. You could tell that he was not fully up to speed. He was maybe pushing himself a little bit too much by doing this, because he came on, he did look like he was really having to dig in to perform the sprints that he was needing to do. When he was getting on the ball and he was surging forward, it was maybe taking him a little bit longer to recover. When he was walking, you could tell that he was still hobbling. There was still a little bit of discomfort there. So first of all, you've got to say that fair play to him for coming on and wanting to play his part when you could tell that he wasn't quite fit. But even in saying that, what he did when he came on was excellent. The positions that he was dropping into, the fact that he was getting on the ball, driving forward, doing something that no other Middlesbrough player was doing in that first half in particular. It was a really, really impressive performance when he came on, and it showed exactly why he's so important to Middlesbrough. Now, ultimately he came on, and as we said, the match didn't go our way. We ended up losing the match 1-0, and Hayden Hackney was absolutely distraught at full time, making his way around the pitch, applauding the Middlesbrough supporters for what is almost certain to be his final game in the red of Middlesbrough, because he does have a year left on his contract. It's widely accepted that he's going to be moving on this summer. The only real way that Middlesbrough had any sort of chance of keeping hold of him would have been if we'd got promoted to the Premier League. He may have wanted to stay in that instance, but I just simply can't see Hayden Hackney sticking around for another season in the Championship. I think he's too good for it. I think he'd be selling himself short, frankly, if he was to stay with Middlesbrough for another season. So I do think it's maybe the case that this is the summer where he does move on. Of course, with Middlesbrough's blessing, I think the fact that he has stuck around this season is incredible. He had the opportunity to move on last summer. He could have chased the dollar and moved to Ipswich, had a better chance at getting promoted to the Premier League, earned more money, got the big transfer fee, all of that sort of stuff. But he decided to stay with Middlesbrough, and for me, that is his legacy. Yes, he's a hometown lad. Yes, he's done well for Middlesbrough, but that was, for me, the biggest thing. The fact that he decided to stick around last summer when he could have moved on, but he wanted to stay unless it was a clear step forward. Now, I think this summer's going to be very different. I think there's going to be a higher calibre of club coming in for him. I mean, I'd probably be looking in the Premier League at someone like a Crystal Palace or a Bournemouth, someone like that who I think he could do very well with. They've done excellent work in the last few seasons of signing players from the Championship and giving them a platform to step into the Premier League. Of course, Palace have done it with Wharton, who's assigned from Blackburn. Bournemouth have done it with Alex Scott, who's assigned from Bristol City. So I could see Hayden Hackney going the same way. And I think for him, it was great to get back out on the pitch. It was great for him great for Middlesbrough supporters to see him in a Middlesbrough shirt once again. But I do think it'll probably be the last time. I'd be very surprised if he's still in a Middlesbrough shirt next season. But still, once again, great to see him back in the shirt, because I think no one wanted to see his career at Middlesbrough end with him hobbling off the pitch against Bristol City. It was great to see him back out there and showing exactly what he's capable of, why he's so highly rated. Even though he wasn't fully fit, he was still very, very impressive after he came on the pitch against Hull City. Now, of course, the third and final talking point from this game, which is going to go on all summer long, it's going to be the main stick being used to beat Middlesbrough with over the course of this summer, and that, of course, is our striking options. Now, there's been a lot of speculation on social media, a lot of talk, a lot of criticism about what Middlesbrough did or didn't do in this department, particularly in the January transfer window. Of course, Middlesbrough came quite very close to signing Adam Armstrong from Southampton. We've been linked previous to that with Ollie McBurney, funnily enough, with Patrick Bamford as well. And we decided to go into the second half of the season with Tommy Conway, David Strelec and Callie Sen. Now, that decision clearly has backfired in the second half of the season. We've really struggled in front of goal. Yes, we've created a lot of chances, but we've just lacked the quality in so many games. You can forgive it in one or two, but it's been a constant theme with this team that we've created these chances and we haven't had anyone to put them in the back of the net. We haven't really had anyone to be there to make these chances big goal-scoring opportunities. And for me, that's going to be something that needs to be addressed this summer. Tommy Conway, of course, he's picked up an injury, so we missed out against Hull at Wembley. He's someone who is now playing more off the left flank, so you can almost take him out of the striking equation for next season. Callie Sen, clearly, I don't know what's going on there, but he's clearly fallen out of favour under Kim Hellberg. I'd be very, very surprised if he's in Middlesbrough's plans next season. I could see him moving on this summer. And David Strelec, yes, he's struggled with injuries, but he's done all right. To be fair, against Hull, I thought he put himself about quite well, led the line fairly well. He just didn't really have that support, I thought, from Riley McGree and Morgan Whittaker. He looked quite isolated at times, and for me, that wasn't so much his fault. I think we just needed our other attacking players to be up behind him, really putting the squeeze on the Hull City defence. That's maybe where Tommy Conway comes in, and that's what the sort of thing that he's good at. So I think David Strelec will be here next season. I think he's got a role to play. I said about Tommy Conway and how he'll probably be playing off the left, but for me, that means with David Strelec in there, he's probably the only senior striker, out-and-out striker that we're going to be having going into next season. So I think it's going to be really, really important that we go into the transfer market and sign at least one, maybe even two centre forwards to make sure that we have those options, because the fact that we were in a playoff final, the fact that we were needing a goal, or that even when it was 0-0 and we were looking to get a goal to secure the win, we just didn't have any options. As soon as David Strelec went off, you just sort of looked at the team and you thought, where's this goal going to come from? Sanjay Hansen came on. He's a live wire, but he's not a striker. Morgan Whittaker had one of his very, very quiet games where he was pretty much ineffective. We've got other options on the bench with like Leo Castledine, who has played as a striker at times, but it's not his natural role. And you just sort of struggle to see where that goal came from. And so I can see where the criticism is coming from supporters that we didn't sign a striker in January. In my opinion, in January, I didn't think it was a priority, because I thought at that time we were typically playing either Tommy Conway or David Strelec as a lone striker. We had Callie Sen there as well. So for me, that was three strikers challenging for one position. It seemed like it was enough. It seemed like it was fine. I didn't think that we needed another option to go in there, because it would have made us a little bit more bloated. But I think in the second half of the season, when Tommy Conway and David Strelec started playing in the team together, it meant that was one less option that we had up front. And then when Callie Sen fell out of the picture altogether, it meant that we had no one there really in backup. And that is something which has been really, really important, something which has been a real hindrance for us, particularly over the last couple of months. And I think that ultimately it may well be the thing that's cost us. It may well be the thing that cost us automatic promotion in the first place, and it may well be the thing that cost us against Hull City, because had we had a couple more attacking options against Hull, we could have done something much different against them. We saw how they changed the game when they were bringing on a number of attacking players. Joe Gelhardt came on for them in the second half, and he was really lively. He came close a couple of times to scoring as well. So signing a striker has to be a top priority for us this summer. I definitely think that Kim Hellberg knows that. He mentioned it in his post-match press conference about turning these chances into big chances, turning this possession into real dominance, and ultimately the game's won by putting the ball in the back of the net. So it will be interesting to see what we do there, and that for me will be the main transfer priority for us going into the next couple of months. So I want to hear from you. I want to know what your key takeouts were from the match at Wembley Stadium. So drop into the comments below. Let me know what you thought of Middlesbrough's performance at Wembley and what needs to improve going into this summer. Comments below. If you have enjoyed it, please do hit like and please do hit subscribe as well. There's going to be a lot of content coming up very soon. I know that a lot of Boro podcasts will be winding down now. It's the summer. It's been a long, long season. A lot of people will be taking a hard-earned break, but I'm not going to be. I'm going to be looking at this. I'm going to be getting stuck in and looking ahead to the new season, taking a rational look at every part of Middlesbrough's squad going into the summer and next season, what we need to improve on, what works well, what players are going to be coming into the club. So stick around. There's going to be a lot of analysis coming, particularly over the next couple of weeks. So stick around on Bonkers for Boro, hit subscribe, and I will catch up with you next time.